What up, guys? This is your boy DZD, aka the Drank Kang, Purple Wall Entertainment, and you are live inside the Dungeon Palace Studios once again. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. I really appreciate all you guys out there that take your time out to view the videos. Thank you so much. As always, before we get started, let me shout out a few of the new subscribers that have subscribed to the channel. Popping up on screen right now, you'll see these guys. Just want to give you guys a shout out and make sure that you guys know that I really appreciate your support. If you have not done so already, please hit that subscribe button, join the family, also hit that bell notification. That way you guys can stay up to date with the content that I'm going to be posting. Today, I wanted to make a quick video and show you guys my way of flipping samples. Now I know I've looked on the internet and I've seen a lot of guys that have videos on chopping samples, but very few show what to do after you've chopped the sample and the techniques that's involved in flipping a sample. So I'm gonna take you guys through 3 basic techniques that I was taught when I first started flipping samples, and I wanted to know what was involved in doing that. It's some very simple techniques, and pretty much if you use these techniques on your flipping sample skills, then you'll be able to always come up with something to start your beats off with. Now, by no means do I stick to this method. Sometimes I deviate from it just to get creative, but these are just 3 basic ways that you can kind of get an idea of how to flip your samples. So I have a sample pack that I'm gonna dive into. If something catches my ear, we'll drag it into MPC software and get this thing rocking. So without saying too much, let's jump inside the sample pack and see what we got going on. Let's do it. All right, my people, we are live inside the MPC software again with the sample pack. This is the one that we're gonna be taking a look at. It's called Chill Hip Hop, the Deepest Cuts. We're going to take a look at instrument loops because that's obviously where the melodic content is, and that's what we're going to use for our samples. So what we're going to do is just kind of click around in these, see if we can get something that catches our ear. If it does, we'll drag it inside and see if we can start rocking with it. So let's see what's up with it. It seems like it has a bunch of resonant type of sounds, you know. Probably we're gonna get something to kind of fill out a background and then add our own melody to it. That seems like the vibe that I'm getting from this, kind of like some lo-fi vibes. So if we can't find like a melody or something, then we'll end up pulling in one of these sounds and just create like a background and then add a melody to it. So let's just keep going and see what we can find. So I guess we're gonna go with this guitar sound. It seems like the one that we're gonna rock with. It has a nice melodic feel to it. See if we can do something with that. I like the tone of the sample. It's really nice. So I don't think I'm gonna pitch it down or up. Kind of fits a nice little groove. So I'm gonna keep it the way it is. In my ear, it sounds like a G minor or a B minor, something like that. But we're gonna check that out just to see later on. All right, I'm gonna show you guys just a few ways on how you can flip your samples. I know, like I said, a lot of guys speak about how to chop samples and how to get them this way, get them prepared to be flipped. Now, these are just basic techniques. They're used in sampling. As I said, by no means does this have to be the main way you sample, but these are just a few techniques that I found that help me out. That way I can get a sample running very quickly, even if I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do with it. I implement one of these techniques and one of them always works with a sample. So the first one that I'm going to show you is just playing the sample as a drum pattern. You have to look at these sample chops as actual drums. Let's say, for instance, pad 1 would be my kick drum. That's my kick drum. And then pad 2 is my snare drum. So I can play it like I would play a drum pattern. I would play a drum pattern, boom, boom, bap, boom, 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 bap. And if I do this, if I pick out these 2 pads and pick out these 2 pads and pick out these 2 pads and these 2 pads, I can kind of go use those 2 pads as drum patterns. So check out what I'm talking about. type style drum, but it's with the samples. So I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about when I lay this down over the metronome. Watch. So that's just the first method of how you can look at playing a sample. You can pick out just two pads that kind of have, one has a kick drum type of feel, one has a snare drum type of feel. And you pick out just those two pads, and then you pick out another two pads and another two pads, and you pick out 4 sets of those pads. I have 2 here, then I have 2 here. That's the first bottom row. Then I have 2 here and 2 here on the second row of pads. So that's my 2. And if I play them both like a kick and a snare, just go all the way down the pads, then it's gonna kind of give me that rhythm, and it should make up something with the sample. And let's erase it, and I'll do it again. I'm gonna play the boom, boom, bop, boom, boom, bop, boom, boom, bop. But I'm just gonna play those 2 pads up and down the pads. So if you get really, really good at laying down kick and snare patterns, then you'll get really, really good at this technique, because you're going to follow that same exact pattern, a kick and a snare pattern. Okay, one of the next ways of flipping a sample is to use effects on the sample. And something like a delay effect works well. So here's our track here. This is our sample track. Let's label that. Okay. Oh, too many L's. And this is where we put our effects for this entire program. These effects are going to affect all of these pads. So let's go on and pull up an Akai delay effect, the internal Akai delay sync. And that should work well. So let's pull that up. And now when we hit a pad, you should hear the delay effect. Okay, so we're going to turn down the dry and wet, which means we don't want the delay to play too loud. We want it to kind of come in very, very soft. And then we're going to keep the time. Let's keep it at 1/4. That should be okay. And then we're going to take the feedback down to about 20, because we don't want it to trail a lot. Okay. So now we have our sound, our effect on our sample. Let's work with just those 8 pads again. 2, 2, 2, and 2 for our kick and our snare. Now we're going to use those same 8 pads, but we're only going to use the first pad and the 4th pad, the first pad and the 4th pad. And I'll show you how we do that. We're going to let the delay fill in all of the other pads that we would use. So with this delay method, all you do is you take 1 pad, so that's pretty much how you do this little trick here. So I'll show you what that sounds like over the metronome. And then once you have this going, you can kind of pull up the delay again and set it to how you want the feedback to kind of fill in those sounds. Right now, the feedback is just a little bit short. So we're going to increase the feedback here from 20 to about 30. And then we're going to play it, and the feedback should fill in all of those gaps. All you do is just use 1. And you let the actual decay fill in where you would put in the other pads. And then every now and then you can throw another pad in there. So I'll show you. Let's erase that. Every now and again, you can throw just a different pad in. So if I was going to do it again, I'm going to just put a different pad in between my stops. But you get the idea. This is just letting an effect carry your sample for you. You hit it one time and then you let the delay carry out to fill in the rest of the notes that you would normally play in. And this is a very common method used in flipping a sample. If the sample is too busy, all you have to do is find 2 or 3 chops, put an effect on it, and then let the effect carry out the rest of your sample. Okay, the next way that I'm going to talk about is kind of like a random method. Now, what makes the random method different than the first 2 ways is that if you notice, the first 2 ways keep in theme with how the sample is. If this sample was played with, if you listened to the sample before and then you flipped it the first 2 ways, you would still be able to tell it's that sample, because it kind of follows the same exact way the sample is. You're just going up the pads, but you're pretty much going. But you're doing it in a drum pattern. Just how playing drums would be. But this random method is a method that's used when you want to just pick random slices and flip the entire sample to where it may not be recognizable. Now this sample is pretty simple, so the random method may not work on this sample. I'm going to try and come up with something just to see if it will work. But the random method is usually used when a sample has different sounds in it. This sample loops pretty basic over and over. But when a sample has different sounds in it, different kind of things in it, then you can pick out random chops in that sample and make those chops fit to where the sample kind of flips itself completely and now you can't even recognize anything in the sample. As I said, this isn't a pretty good example because the sample just kind of loops over and over in the same manner. But we're going to still find some random pads that we can kind of piece something together with. See, something like that. The other method just kind of requires you to just know how to kind of play drums a little bit. But this method requires you to have a very good ear because you're picking out random slices that kind of fit with the next slice. So that's what I did here. Started off with 1. See, I'm kind of just feeling out random slices that go with my ear. That way I can kind of connect the slice to another slice. Does this method have to stay this way? No, I can keep the same type of method and just pick some different random slices. Let's do that. This is exactly what it is. It's a random method. As I said, this is a more advanced method for people who can kind of feel out and hear different slices and how the music flows, how the samples flow with each other, how the pads flow with each other. You can pick out random slices and kind of get them to fit. You're still using a bit of a basic drum technique, but you're actually picking out random samples. That way you can kind of get those to fit, kind of like putting a puzzle back together. All right, we're going to go back to the first way that we flipped the sample because I kind of like how that one came out. We're going to go back to that particular way of flipping the sample. So I'm going to just drop something real quick. That way we can kind of lay some drums down and then we're going to make the beat out of it. Let's do it. right, let's see if we can kind of put some drums in there. Let's, of course, lay down the hi-hat first. Let's put it on note repeat. That way we can just hold the pad. And then we're going to drop some hi-hats and some rolls. Alright, I have this piano pulled up on the track. Check this out. So I'm going to lay some chords underneath this sample. I'm going to end the video here, guys. Thank you so much for rocking with me. I appreciate it. Hopefully from this video you got a good idea of these 3 basic techniques on how to flip samples. Rewind the video if you need to, because it's some very helpful information. Always remember, chopping and flipping samples doesn't come overnight. This is a process that you need to practice over and over and over again. Find samples, find them from records or sample packs, load them inside your MPC software, flip them, chop them, lay them over some drums, and then do it over and over again. When you implement these 3 basic techniques, you'll find that your repetition forces you to start putting your own flavor to your own chopping and your own flipping methods. Before you know it, you'll be chopping and flipping samples according to your own skill and your own knowledge. If you found any value in this video, please hit that thumbs up button and also drop me a comment below. It really encourages me to keep getting this content out to you guys, so I appreciate that. Shout out to you guys that I'm working with on your live video help sessions. Those sessions are absolutely amazing. Again, I always love meeting all the dope producers out there. I love working shoulder to shoulder with you guys on screen and helping you guys with some MPC techniques and helping make some dope beats with you guys. This topic that we spoke about today was just one of the many topics that we discussed on the live video help session. I'll leave a link in the video description. That way you guys can schedule your own, and I'll see you on screen. If you haven't already, make sure you follow me on Instagram at the Drank Kang, and also follow my Facebook page at facebook.com/Dungeon Palace Studios. You don't want to miss the in-between content that I drop on my social media. Hit me up and send me a shout out. Once again, thank you guys so much for joining me. This is your boy DZD, aka the Drank Kang, Purple World Entertainment, and you are live inside the Dungeon Palace Studios. I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.
Purple World.